So we're with Tom Young, the Parry Sound-Muskoka NDP candidate in the federal election. Morning, Tom.
Good morning, Mark.
Good to see you dressed for the occasion.
We're getting ready for the fall fair here in Bracebridge.
And you're a snare drummer in the. Now, which pipe band is that?
Today I'll be playing with the Bracebridge Legion Pipes and Drums
At the Bracebridge Fall Fair.
at the Bracebridge Fall Fair. We're going to be opening up, doing the opening ceremony.
Well, it's going to be a great day, I think. It's a great day everywhere in Parry Sound-Muskoka
Every day's a great day here.
and in Canada. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Tom, and what's your day job and why are you running for the party?
Well, first of all, I just want to let people know that I always have been a true Muskokan. My family lived in Burkes Falls before I was born. And then I was born in Huntsville, Ontario, moved to Port Sydney as a teenager, and then Bracebridge for the last 40 years. My career, I am the Public Works Superintendent for the Township of Strong, which is the Sunridge area. And I live right here in Bracebridge.
Okay.
I decided I wanted to run for the NDP. I've always liked the NDP. I believe they are the party for the average Joe person, and that's just people like me, people who live paycheck to paycheck. And I decided that I wanted to make a difference in my community, and I wanted to make a difference in people's lives that really, really need help here. So that's why I decided to run in this fall's election.
Great. So what do you think is the number one issue facing Canada?
That's a really difficult question because there's a lot of issues. But especially right here in Parry Sound-Muskoka and across Canada, I believe the number one issue is the climate crisis that we're in right now.
Right? And could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Absolutely. I mean, just look at right here in our own riding, all the flooding we've had. I'm in the public works business, and when we put culverts and stuff and we talk about getting water and drainage for the 100-year storm, there's no such a thing anymore. It's not a 100-year storm. We've had storms in the last 6 years, one right after the other. And the flooding that's happening never happened here when I was a kid, not like it is now. And then you look at the wildfires in Parry Sound last year. I mean, I don't ever remember seeing that as a kid here. You know, so you've got all kinds of water and stuff happening in the spring, which we never had before. I don't believe our dams are ready for that, right? Because they weren't built for that kind of climate. And then we go right into a drought. And you know, how many times have we had fire bans and you know, people are up here in Muskoka camping and they can't have a campfire because of the fire bans. It all comes down to the climate and the crisis that we're in right now. And we've got to do something now, not just lip service like we've been happening. We've got to do something about it, and we've got to start right now.
So somebody in the past has dropped the ball.
100%. I mean, you're moving on. Things are always changing, and you've got to change with them. You've got to look. I'll talk about the dams again, for example. You look in Parry Sound-Muskoka, our water comes down from Algonquin Park mainly, and through this area, down through Muskoka River into Lake Muskoka. And we've got to look at all our dam systems. They were built back in the 50s and stuff like that, and they're not updated. They need to be updated for all the extra water that's coming through, and no one was looking at that. Now all of a sudden, it's a reactive instead of proactive situation.
And do you think that the other parties are addressing the issue?
I really don't. I really don't. I mean, look at it in a bigger scale. For example, our existing Liberal government. They're sitting here telling us that they're big into climate change and they're going to do all these wonderful things. And out of one side of the mouth and on the other side of the mouth, they're buying a pipeline. You're not very serious about fixing the climate here if you're buying pipelines, if you're still giving subsidies to the big oil companies. That's just so wrong. If we get a chance to make government, guess what's going to happen immediately, right? The subsidies stop. That money that's being subsidized, these big oil companies are going to start going to proper programs that people actually need. No more cuts like the provincial Conservatives just finished doing. That's crazy. So no, I don't believe any of the parties really are as serious about the climate change as the NDP is.
Okay, let's get back to that a little bit later, but are national issues the same as local issues? What are the local issues you think?
Well, it's not hard to figure out the local issues. You just got to talk to people, you know. And I get involved in a lot of the community, and I see people. One of the things I'm hearing lately, here in Bracebridge, for example, is the wetlands. There's development wanting to go on the wetlands. There's so much property around here, around the lakes, all over the place is still available. There's no need to put development on wetlands. There really isn't. You know, you've got to look at that, and you got to look at our climate here, right here in Parry Sound-Muskoka, and you got to make sure it stays sustainable. It's got to be prestige, because that's just what we are. We're the cottage country, and people come up here to enjoy our beauty. We got to keep our beauty. We can't start putting all these great big industries and everything on the lakes and on the, you know, these mansions on the lake is crazy. Go to some of the smaller lakes. You want to see something beautiful. You go to 3 Mile, you know, you go to Galich Lake in Port Sydney, you go to Fawn Lake in Port Sydney. These are beautiful little lakes, great fishing, and they're small, nice, average cottage, not these huge mansions, not these big developments that want to go on the wetlands. It's just, that's not cottage country.
This week, Brandy Lake had an algae bloom on it, and you've seen a couple on that in 3 Mile.
They did. It's unfortunate. And again, we're back to the climate change. Why? What's causing this stuff? You know, there's groups around here that can, if the government would let these groups help you out, you know, the climate groups around here and the watershed groups, you got to work with these people. They're very knowledgeable. They know what's going on. You know?
How do you balance the difference between the environment and the people's need for jobs for the economy?
Well, it's not that difficult either, because if you have a clean environment, right, then you can create jobs. So people have to, well, right now our environment isn't great, so you can create jobs by people cleaning up the environment, you know, people doing things to make sure you have clean energy. So if you open up a factory here, for example, right, make sure it's a clean environment, right, a clean factory. You're running electricity, you're running solar, you're running wind, you know, those type of things. I think we used to have, right in this building where we are now, this used to be Dura years ago, making car parts. And wouldn't it be a wonderful thing to open up a factory in Oshawa right now, making electric cars, and then we could open up factories back up here again, creating great jobs for people to make more of these electric parts for these electric cars. It's just a win-win situation for everybody. We had 3 or 4 factories here at one time. We had 2 Elcan factories here, right? And again, moving forward, when you start opening these places, make sure that they're clean energy, they're green energy, the factories, and then they're doing green jobs as well.
Yes, there was Algonquin Automotive here at one time. Now, this morning, your leader, Jagmeet Singh, was in Oshawa, and he was talking about the obviously jobs in the auto industry and things like that. Tell us a little bit more. You've met him. I saw a wonderful photo of the two of you together.
Yes.
And and he was also talking about cell phones and broadband and things like that. Tell us a little bit about your leader.
Well, Jagmeet is a very intelligent man. He's obviously born in Canada here, and he's true Canadian. And I had a chance to spend some time with him. He's down to earth. He's very smart. He's very passionate about what I believe in, the same thing he's believing. We're telling you stuff that we really, really, truly believe in. The climate change, the jobs, the housing, all this stuff that we're telling you we want to do, we will do given the opportunity. Jagmeet is just, I guess the basic way to say he's just a down-to-earth, average, great guy. He really is. And he's truthful, very truthful.
So now he and you are up against, despite what some people may think, that in the polls, the Liberals and the Conservatives have traditionally led the polls and the elections, and in recent years the Green Party has made some inroads into traditionally, some maybe possibly traditionally NDP territory there. How do you think you're going to do against them? And are they setting the agenda as far as the environment and climate change? And is there anything more to them than that?
I don't believe so. I mean, the Green Party is basically a one-issue party, right? And people really I get that, because we're Muskoka here, right? So people
it's
really...
a big issue.
It is a huge issue, and they think, okay, great, climate change and the Green Party, they're gonna do wonderful things, and they are that way, but that's all they're gonna do, right? We want to, another big issue here in Muskoka, huge issue, is jobs and housing. And so not only are we going to be serious about the climate change and make things happen, but at the same time, we're going to create the jobs to go along with it. We're not going to leave anybody behind. My brother used to work out in the oil fields years ago. He told me how hard of a job it was, how dirty of a job it was. It was terrible. He's back here. He's only in his 40s and he can hardly move now because of the job he did out there. It wasn't fun. It's not a long-lasting job because it's just too physical. So those people out there, you know, people are worried if you shut down the oil fields and that's what are you going to do for jobs? We're bringing them with us, right? Not one person's going to be left behind. We want to retrain them into clean energy jobs. We're going to need people to build, put factories up to build solar panels. We're going to have to build windmills and stuff like that. And the government our NDP government is going to be right there with them to make sure that happens. Retrain these people into great public service jobs. And then on top of that, because you are going to need people to build all these things, and then you're going to need people to maintain them and run them and everything else, then we're going to create 300,000 jobs across Canada. Good public sector, great paying jobs.
The Conservatives are on that page as far as the wanting the Trans Mountain, and the Liberals seem to be leaning that well. How do you balance those two things?
But the Trans Mountain pipeline, again, is a pipeline, right? Again, it's not clean energy. So if you're serious about doing clean energy and getting rid of the pipelines and stuff, then why are we doing that? Why are we buying them? Those are jobs that, again, are dirty jobs. They're not fun jobs, and believe me, I've had many, many conversations with my brother who worked out there, and he said it was just horrible. Yeah. You know, I don't believe you can't be serious about climate change if you're going to buy a pipeline and do that. It's just not, doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
So let's take a little step back and say, look at how life is in Canada and things like that. Some people say it's busy on the highways, it's busy on the main streets, the economy is going well. Are the Liberals responsible for that?
I don't believe so. You know,
has Justin Trudeau made a difference in the last 4 years?
Oh gosh, no. He said he was going to have what he said, the budget was going to balance itself. We're what, a month away from another election, and the budget hasn't balanced at all.
Does any budget balance, does it?
Exactly, right? But the Liberals and Conservatives have a huge history, and they will continue to do it, to fund and to look after the rich people. They really are. They're not looking after the average person like me, the average person with a lower income, which shouldn't be happening. Let's bring the income up, right? There is money out there if the government spends it correctly. They're not spending it correctly. They're giving it to the companies or giving them tax breaks that they don't need. They're just making them richer. We're making them richer with my tax dollars, with your tax dollars. And we've got to start taking that money and putting it back into the average paycheck to paycheck normal person.
Is the average person middle class, do you think, Tom?
No, I think the average person is anybody who works hard, who tries to raise a family. You know, I hear you know, these things with Andrew Scheer right now saying, I'm going to look after the middle class people. Why don't you look after everybody? There's more than just middle class people. There's people struggling, trying to make ends meet. I can tell you right now, I'd be very surprised, if any of the candidates here in Parry Sound-Muskoka, other than myself, has actually been to places where people live, like underneath the bridge here in Bracebridge. People don't realize that there's a second bridge right beside the big Silver Bridge. When you're going south on the road, up on the road, it looks like a regular road. But if you're down at the falls and look up, you'll see there's actually another bridge there.
A rail bridge?
No, on the road.
Oh.
If you look at the Silver Bridge and then look to the right from down the falls, underneath the road, there is another bridge there, right? There's another structure. And people live there. I've been there. A few years ago, out of many of the things that I volunteered for, one of them was the Out of the Cold program. Right? I went to the Out of the Cold program. I'd volunteer cooking, spending time with people. People need places to stay. I heard stories right here in our own community about people couch surfing, about people living on the street. You don't see it as much as you do in the bigger cities, but it is happening here. Underneath that bridge, if there is a path that walks right up to that second bridge, and there's mattresses and there's horrible stuff under there, but it's out of the weather, it's out of the wind, and it's better than sleeping in a snowbank, I guess, or in the rain.
So you're saying governments aren't taking care of those people? The same accusation your party has made about the Liberals' position in government as far as the First Nations communities, Indigenous people there, that they've, there was a statement by the NDP yesterday, I believe, about Grassy Narrows there.
That's horrible. So I don't even want to say I had the pleasure, even though it was a pleasure meeting Chief Turtle from Grassy Narrows, but I did get the opportunity to listen to him speak, and honestly, it brought tears to my eyes. It really did. He was at the NDP provincial convention that we attended, and the room was quiet when he came out on the stage, because he told us the story of what happened up there 50 years ago. And I'm not going to blame just the Liberals. The Conservatives have been in power in the last 50 years as well. So 50 years ago, up in Grassy Narrows, there was a mercury leak, and it went all in their water, all on their land. They can't grow anything, they can't drink their water. People are sick, they're dying. To this day, 50 years later, they're still dying up there. They have gone to the government. All the governments that are in power have gone to them and said, help us, please help us. And they've done nothing. Trudeau recently sent a representative up there to talk to the folks up there and to Chief Turtle and see if they could fix this, help them fix the situation. Excuse me. They had a plan. They came so close to signing on, but the representative wouldn't say the word mercury. He wouldn't utter it out of his lips. And the chief said, this building that we got to build, you know, to make this happen, has to be, and I don't remember the name, but it was something Mercury Station or whatever it was. The word Mercury was going to be in there. Yeah. And that was a stumbling block. This representative would not put the word Mercury on the paper, and he walked without signing a deal, and to this day, there's still nothing happening up there. Nothing. Can you imagine? Can you just put it in perspective here in Parry Sound-Muskoka? If the Magnetawan River or the Muskoka River had that happen to it, how fast do you think it would be cleaned up here? Pretty darn fast.
So what do you think that the Liberals, or excuse me, the NDP can do there? Is it a question of just putting money into these projects?
We got to clean it up. We've got to start listening to the people that live there. They're the ones that know. We don't live there. So Jugmeat, I guarantee Jugmeat would go up there and see Chief Turtle and say, okay, what do you need? Let's make this happen. You know, people are dying. That's very serious. You know, let's make this happen. Get up there, get it clean. First of all, let's put some clean water in there to get them going right now, right? That's not rocket science, that's quite easy. You know, get some clean water up there, get them some food, help them start growing their own stuff, and then start cleaning that up. I know it's a big project, and I know it costs money, but it's lives we're talking about here.
Well, Parry Sound-Muskoka had the Army come in, certainly to Bracebridge anyway, when there was a water issue there.
Exactly,
right?
To help sandbag. They were all over the place. You know, and yes, it was a serious issue for us here, but it wasn't anywhere near as serious as Grassy Narrows is, where people have been for years very sick and dying. The amount of people up there this is happening to, that didn't happen here. Yes, it was an issue. Yes, we had some houses and some property damage, but I don't ever hear of anybody getting sick or dying because of our flooding here. But yet they bring the military in, which I greatly appreciate. I think it was a great thing to do to help out the locals. Even Justin showed up here for a photo op and then took off. Now, the sandbagging happened to stop at the time when Justin was here because security was all over the place, but put us a little bit behind, but it still happened. We got it back. But why couldn't that happen up there? Why won't they send the military up there to help them? Clean up the environment. It's ludicrous. I mean, yes, they're Indigenous people, but they're still people. Yeah. They were in this land before us.
Speaking of that, what about immigration there? What's the NDP policy on immigration?
Aren't we all immigrants? We really are. My background is Scottish and Irish. I mean,
That's
I was
Kilt.
Exactly. I was born here in Muskoka, but at one time we're all an immigrant. The ones that aren't is the Indigenous people. So I have no issues with immigration here, as long as it's controlled properly. You know, making sure that everybody, whether you're from Canada or not from Canada, has good paying jobs, a place to live, and a healthy economy.
So let's wrap this up a little bit. What do you think is the message that you want to send over the next 37 days until October 21st to say why people should vote for the Tom Young NDP party, and as opposed to the other candidates in Parry Sound-Muskoka who would probably want to do the same thing as you do, obviously, there, right?
Sure they do. But I can tell you, to the people of Parry Sound-Muskoka, I am from here. That's what I really want to stress. I really honestly do care. All the other candidates are going to tell you the same thing. But I really am from here. I was born and raised here. I went to school here. I walking down the street and I know everybody and I truly care. I want to make a difference here. I will make a difference here. I don't get involved with anything unless I can give 100%. And I get involved in a lot of community events around here, and I want to continue that. And I know if Parry Sound-Muskoka takes the chance, and I understand, you know, it's a big thing to give me your vote. It's very important. But if you give me your vote, I will promise you I'll give you 100%, and I'll make sure things happen. I'll make life here better. Even if we don't make government, but I win this area, Ottawa will know all about Parry Sound-Muskoka, and I'll keep drilling it into them until things happen here. We need housing, we need great jobs, we need a clean environment, and we got to start listening to the people here. They know, right? Not one candidate can sit here and say they know everything, because they don't. But there is people in this riding that do, and we got to start listening to them, and we got to start making things happen in action, not just talk.
Okay, thanks very much, Tom, and good luck on the campaign trail.
Thank you very much.